coming to the Qatar Pavilion for this double session about inclusive AI. My name's Andrew Hill. I'm the senior business writer of the Financial Times, and we're delighted to be hosted here for this session. The way this is going to work is I'm going to have a 15-minute discussion with the Minister, and then we're going to briefly vacate the stage and bring on our panel for a 40-minute interactive discussion on the same topic, enlarging on some of the things that the Minister and I are going to discuss, which will include an opportunity for you as the audience to pose some questions at the end. So 15 minutes and then 40 minutes. And I'm delighted to be able to be here with His Excellency Mohammed bin Ali Al Mannai, the Minister for Communications and Information Technology. Thank you for having us here in your house. So we're going to talk about inclusive AI, but perhaps the first question is, where do you see the future of AI investment, and what is Qatar's role in it? Perhaps you could give us an overview, Your Excellency.
Thanks a lot for hosting me in Qatar House, or Invest Qatar House, and thanks to Invest Qatar for coordinating this session. Actually, as a policy maker, I'm excited and at the same time cautious about the future of AI investment, especially with all the amount of investment that's being seen. I think it's a huge risk that everyone is taking, but it's a required risk. AI to me, at the end, is an emerging technology like any others that we have seen previously, and maybe we need to be cautious a bit in some angle. And specifically here, I would give an example like what has been done in the early 90s when everyone started pushing investment in the fiber technologies that we were speaking about. And at that time, it ended up that there is no demand for it, and it required a long-term actually strategy, and lots of people lost money and lots of companies faced financial difficulties. But at the end, it's proven that it's required, and today the backbone of all the digital networks that we run and the digital economy that we see is that fiber technology. So I see AI also is in a crossroads, similar to that situation. That's why we need to be cautious what's being pushed. But at the same time, I'm excited because I see that AI is not the final state yet. We know that most of the frontier models and everyone in the AI industry is working towards something that we call AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which is not yet reached. So we still have plenty of development, plenty of innovation, plenty of investment to be done, and plenty of research activities. So the status that we are in today, I would call it as a narrow intelligence, and we need to move to general intelligence, which will be much more exciting, much more powerful than what we see today. Keeping that in the context of investment, I think at least in Qatar, we need to realize that we are in a transition AI period, and the world is still developing, and for that I think we have followed a strategy with three main pillars. Control the size of investment. We are not running after the hype or the trend that's going on the investment today, and we just invent or invest on what can keep us relevant in the AI world going forward. And the second pillar would be is around being selective. So we don't invest in everything. We invest in things that we think will benefit humanity, will benefit the goals of the state of Qatar in the long term. And the third one is strong governance, and that's mainly for the domestic investment in the state of Qatar. So we govern our investment and projects that we execute with a very strong governance that has transparency and ethics as a core. So we continue to invest, we continue to be excited, and we will continue to collaborate with the world to develop a responsible AI.
So just to follow up on that, how will you be measuring whether your AI initiatives are really meeting some of these goals, and particularly to improve lives, across the whole of society, and how will your governance regime spot where there are gaps and identify those and plug them?
For sure, time yet to come to prove that because we are still in the development stages, but we mainly focus on three metrics: the economic prosperity, the national security, and the people prosperity. So if we are able to carry a progress on those three angles by 2030, those will be the main measures we will need to do. For sure, there is plenty of gaps when it comes to governance, and maybe it's the question that everyone is trying to find an answer for: what's the right governance model for AI? We see that it shouldn't be that what's the right governance model for AI is the technology framework that we need to manage, and AI is only one of the technologies that sits with it. So we need to look into the holistic picture, not only the AI as one of the technologies that comes. And I believe, at least in Qatar, the framework, the legal framework and the regulatory framework would give us the ability in order to cover some of the gaps that would come, especially with the ex-post regulation and the ex-post elements of our legal framework that we have that can help us to fill those gaps.
You're a former regulator. I mean, how much are you looking to other regimes about AI regulation to pick the best options for Qatar? Is this something that is entirely homegrown, or will you be taking best practice from elsewhere?
I think there's no best practices yet. Best practices yet to become, but we will also research about what can be the right regulatory framework and what can be the right legal framework. From what we have seen today, for example, models like in EU, for example, issuing a specific law for AI with the consequences that we see. I think it's a very early day, and we all need to be careful about those regulatory instruments that we would be introducing along the way. But for now, our approach is very right regulation in order to support the technology development going forward.
So I'm going to ask a question that's kind of consultant question. What will success look like for you in 2030? I mean, how will you judge that you have genuinely succeeded in creating this inclusive AI?
The inclusivity is a big part, of any digital or technology work that we do. Even when you look at our digital agenda, for example, you will find the human factor is much stronger than infrastructure and solutions. So always actually we try to push first or to focus first on the human factor, because at the end you can deploy technology, push it in people, but if they don't adapt it, then you have achieved nothing. So most of our efforts now is pushed actually toward the upskilling, toward making sure that people would use those technology and find what problems it can solve for them, rather than just bringing the technology, pushing it to them. And we could see actually a very interesting number from the initial findings that we have. I think both in the public sector, for example, one of the tools that we have rolled out is being used by more than 65% of the government employees, and it's saving more than 240,000 man hours. And we could see maybe another number also that's very encouraging is 35% of the working population in Qatar are using AI. So we could start measuring impact and start to steer it or direct it toward the right direction. And for that, we have a set of tools that we use as a government. One of them, for example, is the Digital Inclusion Index, where we could see actually where are the inclusion gaps that are specifics in the country and try to cover them.
So these improvements in productivity are clearly one of the main goals here. Is it a way of amplifying what Qatar already has in order to try and improve productivity and apply AI? Because a small country needs all the tools that it can use.
No, Qatar is a small country with a great wealth that we need to make sure that every citizen is as productive as he or she can be. And for that, I think AI and the other technology means can support that. So productivity is a good problem to solve in Qatar by using technology.
Maybe this is getting too ahead of yourselves since you're at the start of this journey towards 2030. But in what way do you think the approach that Qatar's applying could be used for other small or developing countries, which are also facing questions about how do they get into the AI race?
I think being cautious, careful, take your time. Don't rush after trends, because trends in technology change very frequently. So you shouldn't only see the hype and start working on it. And at the same time, look at the cultural aspect of AI. How you can make sure that you would have a model or an AI framework that meet your cultural aspects and not follow the unilingual models that we could see today that only take one side of the story, not all the other sides. And we can support many nations since we almost now, since we more than 4 years, we started actually to develop our model and to look into the cultural aspects on AI and how that can be introduced into a certain model.
Could you just be more precise about what you mean by the cultural aspects? Obviously there's the Arabic language, which clearly needs to be represented and have its opportunity with AI. What other cultural aspects?
Always the main components of any culture is language, it's literature, what has been produced, it's journalism, its point of view toward many topics globally. And usually when we use those ready-made models, those take one angle of it. And you need always to train your own models or bring your own data to reflect your own culture, your own beliefs, so that actually you would get answers that's relative to you, not to the others.
Well, thank you. You've set us up very nicely for our coming discussion in the next 40 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, please would you put your hands together and thank His Excellency.